Hey guys, it's Tammy. Hope you guys are doing good. I am actually beyond excited, and I shouldn't be. the, what I'm getting at is I've been talking a lot about DNA damage, and so I wanted to kind of retrace where I was coming from all of this, because what I was looking into with regards to cancer and a lot of other maladies is the overexpression of certain genes. Now, I do understand where adaptations occur and a gene may be turned off and possibly turned back on, but this overexpression thing was very, very interesting to me. So I began looking into it, and everywhere I go, science is not looking at the sorry, I'm trying to keep the shadow of my hand out of my face. The science is not looking at what's underneath, what is actually the motivation or the influence for overexpression. And by overexpression means it's just constantly activated. They're not looking at that. They're actually looking at it as tools to modulate health issues and so forth. So in order to find the answer to my question, I had to go in a different direction. So I just looked for gene overexpression and in nature, just in nature as a whole, as opposed to isolating one aspect of nature, which would be in humans. And what I've discovered is that science has come to determine that overexpression is a result of genetic alterations, meaning like when they were doing modifying the genes, right? Genetic modification leads to overexpression of other genes in the plants. Fascinating, right? So that means, that tells me DNA damage, because that's all that is. If you're modifying a DNA, that means they're taking segments of the DNA called transponal elements, and they are replacing them with the DNA segment of potentially a bacteria or a virus or yada yada, whatever. I mean, this is what they're exploring all over the place. And still, no real evidence on overexpression. So I started digging around into just basic supposition, which is, well, what are these chemicals in our environment doing? Are they actually, in fact, damaging the DNA? And I found what I was hoping to find, which is evidence to show that certain chemicals lead to toxicity. They affect the genes, they actually influence genetic mutations, which then are now passed on, and I use that word, passed on to the offspring. So this is a large part of our problem. And what I'm really, really excited to say is especially this last week, and of course being very self-absorbed because I need to take care of myself, I have been exploring all of these what is underlying all of it. And so it's DNA damage. But I went to the degree where and this is what I wrote about yesterday, is how does the DNA repair itself, and how can we assist that process? Now, I did identify constituents in that post, the psychology and chemistry of well-being. But I did add oil constituents. I did not specify what particular oils. I did just identify specific constituents. And so with that said, I am beyond confident that we can begin to prevent chronic breakdown, chronic degeneration. We have right now in the palm of our hand the opportunity to help our children. Keep in mind, ancestral healing, as I've talked about, does come from thoughts and patterns, and yes, that does influence the epigenome, but we're also looking at things that are being passed on from generation to generation because of the chemicals we're exposed to. We have, right now, we have the ability to stop that. And while some people may go, well, the environment we're fucked by the environment. No, we're not. Because the body will respond to something natural. So that means if you start using specific oils with particular constituents in them, you have the ability to override and protect your DNA, because the DNA, there are pathways that the DNA uses to communicate with the environment. These chemicals have shapes. That's how they're able to lock into these receptors and communicate to the DNA. Essential oil constituents have shapes. This isn't one size fits all. These are certain and what I mean by shape is the way the molecule is put together with carbons and hydrogens and oxygen. It's how that shape fits and plugs right into the receptor. And oils have that ability because they have multiple constituents with multiple shapes. And so all we need to do is identify which one is the best for an individual, okay? Because even though you may have an oil that contains the constituents that I noted, it may not be the oil for you. We may need to pick out something else, and this is where I can help you. Now, if you go to my website, synergessence.com, you can click on products and services, or services and products is I think how I worded it. And I'll give you a menu of ideas on how you can work with me, as well as an option to purchase a serum that will support radiation therapy. So, but I'm just really, I can't begin to describe how excited I am that I've been able to locate very specifically that the DNA is under siege. And we have the ability to help it. Anyway, hope you guys are doing well. Thanks very much for tuning in, and I will be back tomorrow.